Institutional weaknesses. Parliaments in post-conflict settings may lack the resources, expertise, and institutional capacity needed to address complex post-conflict issues. 2, political polarization. Conflict often leaves deep political and social divisions, making it difficult for parliamentarians to build consensus on key issues. 3, security concerns. In some post-conflict regions, insecurity may limit the ability of parliamentarians to engage with their constituencies or conduct oversight activities effectively. And corruption and resource mismanagement. The mismanagement of resources, particularly international aid and reconstruction funds, can undermine public trust in Parliament and hinder recovery efforts. Madam Chairperson, allow me to submit the Zambian situation. Although Zambia has not experienced armed conflict or war, the country faces various social, political, and economic challenges that could potentially lead to conflict if not addressed. Further, historical grievances, socio-economic disparities, and risk factors such as the politicization of ethnic identities and associated social discord, election violence, economic inequality, low levels of development, and weak state capacity pose threats to national cohesion and sustainable development. Therefore, in the context, Parliament strategy may play a crucial role in mitigating the long-standing impact of potential conflicts and ensuring a stable environment conducive to sustainable development. The following are some of the initiatives undertaken by the Zambian Parliament. 1, proactive legislative framework, approval of international agreements and treaties, strengthening governance and accountability, and engaging with regional and international peace builders initiative. Madam Chairperson, in conclusion, the long-standing impacts of conflicts, including armed conflicts, pose significant challenges to sustainable development. Parliament can mitigate these impacts by enhancing effective registration, promoting transparency and accountability, ensuring inclusive governance, and fostering economic and social recovery. For this strategy to succeed, collaboration among parliaments, governments, civil society, international organizations, and local communities is essential. In addition, by establishing robust legislative frameworks and exercising oversight, Parliament can facilitate the transition of conflict-affected nations from instability to sustainable peace and development. I submit, Madam Chairperson. Thank you so much, Zambia. Thank you so much. That was valuable information to the House. Let me now call upon Azerbaijan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable colleagues, distinguished guests, conflicts whether they arise from political, economic, or environmental factors have devastating and long-lasting effects on societies. Women in particular bear a disappropriate burden of these impacts. As peacekeepers, soldiers, healthcare workers, politicians, and activists, women play diverse roles in conflict settings. Women have a fundamental right to participate in decision-making processes that impact their lives. The Women, Peace and Security Agenda underscores not only the necessity, but also the strategic advantage of integrating women into peace processes. To effectively reduce the long-term consequences of conflicts on sustainable development, parliaments must adopt concrete strategies, including an intergenerational and cross-sectoral approach that ensures inclusively in conflict resolution and peace-building processes. Allocating budgetary resources to support women-led initiatives, post-conflict recovery programs, and gender-responsive humanitarian aid. Establishing mechanisms for women's participation in decision-making at all levels, ensuring their voices shape policies related to peace, security, and climate resilience. Let me bring forward the case of Azerbaijan. As a result of Armenia's aggression against Azerbaijan, which lasted for over 30 years, nearly 1 million Azerbaijani citizens became refugees and internally displaced persons, of whom significant part were women. Reality shows that a significant portion of Azerbaijani refugees driving out from Armenia since 1988, women face poverty and unemployment, losing not only their professions and skills, but also their physical and mental well-being. Many young girls were stripped to their right to a prosperous future, facing social hardships and deprivation. By the way, the time has reached to restore the right of these people in line with the relevant UN conventions and ensure their safe and secure return. Therefore, addressing the gendered impact of conflict must be central to our parliamentary strategies. Parliaments have a responsibility to advocate for policies that protect and empower women, ensuring their meaningful participation in post-conflict reconstruction and sustainable development. By taking decisive legislative actions, we can build more resilient, equitable, and peaceful societies for all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Azerbaijan. Before we proceed, may I please, with all due respect, announce to this Honourable House that we can no longer take other speakers due to the time left. So the countries we have here are Canada, Monaco, India, South Africa, Iran, Japan, Nepal, Austria, United Kingdom, Bahrain, United Republic of Tanzania, and Bahamas.
Madam Chair, fellow parliamentarians, I'm Senator Fleur-de-Lys Osler from Canada, and I'm honored to participate in this debate. The 2024 Geneva Declaration, Parliamentary Diplomacy, Building Bridges for Peace and Understanding, which was endorsed by the 148th IPU Assembly, explains that women and other vulnerable and marginalized groups are disproportionately impacted by conflict. This further exacerbates pre-existing inequalities, such as unequal access to socioeconomic and political rights. Among other things, conflict impacts economies, institutions, and governance, physical and mental health, including negative impacts on women's sexual and reproductive health. The importance of women in peacebuilding is widely recognized in the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325. Allow me to share some of Canada's strategies to support gender-responsive peace processes and climate action. The Government of Canada characterizes implementation of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda as a foreign policy priority. Policies and initiatives such as Canada's Feminist International Assistance Policy, our Indo-Pacific Strategy, and Canada's Defence Policy, Our North, Strong and Free, a renewed vision for Canada's defence, incorporate aspects of the Women, Peace and Security Agenda. Canada's most recent Women, Peace and Security Action Plan includes commitments to continue advocating for women's meaningful participation in peace and security. The action plan also promotes the full, equal, and meaningful participation of women in decision-making related to humanitarian assistance and crisis response. Women are also disproportionately impacted by climate change. The United Nations Progress on the Sustainable Development Goals Gender Snapshot 2024 observes that by 2050, climate change may push up to 158 million more women and girls into extreme poverty, 16 million more than men and boys. The 2023 Feminist Climate Justice, a Framework for Action, notes the association between greater representation of women in parliaments and stronger climate action policies. Indigenous women and children in particular are disproportionately affected by climate change. The Native Women's Association of Canada emphasizes the need to place Indigenous women and girls and gender diverse people at the heart of discussions about climate change and land stewardship, so that the rights and livelihoods of Indigenous people are protected. The Government of Canada's Engaging Indigenous People in Climate Change Policy provides capacity funding to Indigenous organizations to support their participation in climate policy discussions. I thank you all for listening, and I look forward to hearing how other parliaments support gender-responsive, sustainable peace processes and climate action.
Thank you so much, Canada. It was very fruitful. Now we move on to Monaco.
Merci, Madame la Présidente, chers
Thank you,
collègues.
Chair.
Je
Dear
tiens à remercier
colleagues, I
chaleureusement
wanted to thank you
l'Uzbekistan pour son
warmly,
accueil, ainsi
Uzbekistan,
que
for
pour
the
l'excellente organisation de
welcome
cette
and the
réunion.
excellent organization of
Je
this
n'ai pas d'amendement
meeting.
particulier
I
à
don't have any
formuler. Je
amendments
souhaiterais
to
attirer
formulate,
votre
but I wanted
attention
to attract your
sur un
attention
sujet préoccupant,
to a
l'utilisation
concerning
croissante des bombes
topic,
antipersonnelles
using
dans les conflits armés
landmine
actuels.
bombs in
Ces
current
engins
armed
explosifs
conflicts.
continuent de
These
tuer, de mutiler des civils,
devices
souvent longtemps
mutilate
après la fin des
civilians,
combats. Les
often
enfants
long
qui jouent
after
dans des zones
conflict.
non sécurisées et
Children
les
that are
femmes,
playing in
souvent
non-secure
contraintes de se
zones,
déplacer pour
women
subir
have
et
to be
subvenir aux besoins de
displaced
leur famille,
to support their families.
figurent parmi les premières victimes.
And these are the
Par
first
ailleurs, les
victims.
mines
Also,
antipersonnelles ont un
the
impact
landmines
environnemental
have
profond.
an
Elles brisent les
environmental
sols
impact
et rendent les
and
terres
destroy
agricoles
soils
impropres
and
à la culture,
make
freinent
soil
le retour des
impossible for
populations
agriculture
déplacées et affectent durablement les
and
écosystèmes.
affect ecosystems
essentiel
in the
de
long
se
term.
donner
It
les
is
moyens
essential
pour
to give ourselves the
renforcer la
means to
prévention,
reinforce
le
the
déminage,
prevention,
d'effectuer des
demining,
actions et
carry out
l'accompagnement de nos
actions,
victimes.
and
Je vous
support
remercie.
victims. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. In Monaco, we now move on to India.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Dr. Lata Wankhede. Societies destroy infrastructure, displace millions, and erode economy and social progress. The impact lingers long after the violence ends. Weak governance, poverty, food insecurity, lack of education, and environmental degradation continue to haunt affected nations. Sustainable development is impossible without peace, and peace cannot be sustained without development. As the legislative backbone of nations, parliaments have a critical role in post-conflict recovery and sustainable development. Here are 5 key strategies that can help mitigate the long-term impact of conflicts. Strengthening legal framework for peace and stability. Parliaments must enact and enforce laws that promote social cohesion, prevent violence, and ensure justice. Second, economic reconstruction and sustainable growth. Conflict destroys economies, leading to empowerment, poverty, and instability. Parliaments must legislate for economy recovery through investment in infrastructure and job creation, promotion of small and medium-sized enterprises, SME, to revive local economies. Sustainable industries promotion to prevent resource waste conflicts, inclusive governance and political stability, post-conflict governance structures must be inclusive, ensuring representation of all communities. Parliaments must work towards decentralization, ensuring local governance is empowered to rebuild societies. Investing in education, healthcare, and social services. Conflicts affected regions often suffer from disparate education and healthcare systems. Parliamentary budgets must prioritize rebuilding schools, hospitals, and social protection programs. Special attention should be given to psychological rehabilitation for war-affected populations. Strengthening international cooperation and aid. We must prioritize gender-responsive policies in post-conflict recovery through international cooperation and parliamentary diplomacy. Conclusion. I would conclude by saying that conflict is not just a tragedy of the past but a barrier to the future. If we fail to act decisively, the scars of conflict will continue to hinder development for generations. Parliaments must be proactive, passing strong laws, ensuring accountable governance and prioritizing peace-building efforts. Development and peace are two sides of the same coin. Let us unite in our efforts to create a future where conflicts do not detect destinies and where sustainable development becomes a shared reality for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, India. Now we move on to South Africa. Once again, I appeal that we stick to the time, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm Honorable Jane Siboletsi Mananiso from South Africa. Honorable members, in the wake of rising violent conflicts, there is a disturbing trend of increased backlash against human rights and gender equality. As highlighted in the 2024 UN Secretary General report, this report exposed a troubling development, a doubling in the proportion of women killed in armed conflicts compared to the prior year. Notably, the compounding impact of conflict and climate change has disproportionately affected women, amplifying their existing vulnerability. The lack of overall progress on women's full, equal, and meaningful participation in peace processes is a matter of great concern. Shockingly, none of the peace agreements reached in 2023 included a women's group as a signatory, reflecting a significant missed opportunity. Research consistently demonstrates that peace agreements are among more enduring women and women are involved. I must commend countries that have made efforts to elevate the women and peace and security agenda, promoting women's inclusion in their peacemaking effort. However, there is still much more to be done. In this light, South Africa proposes progressive actions. Parliament must enact specific legislation or policies mandating the inclusion of women in peace processes. This can involve certain quotas or affirmative action measures to ensure women's participation at all levels of negotiation. Further note that as well proposes the implementation of monitoring mechanisms to review women participation and the impact of their involvement in peace-building efforts. Parliament should allocate resources for training programs and capacity building initiatives aimed at equipping women with the skills and knowledge necessary to contribute effectively to peace processes. By providing opportunities for education and skills development, women can be empowered to take an active role in negotiation. As we conclude, by embracing these measures, our Parliament can ensure the active engagement of women in peace processes, leading to more effective and sustainable peace agreement and outcomes. Together, let us create a future where women's voices are not only heard, but also integral to building lasting peace, especially in the face of compounded challenges stemming from conflict and climate change. We believe that human rights are human rights. I thank you.
Thank you, South Africa. Now we move on to Iran.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. سمیه رفیعی هستم، نماینده جمهوری اسلامی ایران، نایب رئیس فراکسیون زنان و رئیس فراکسیون محیط زیست و البته اکولوژیست هستم. به جهت کمبود وقت مابقی متن من رو همکارم در واقع قرائت خواهند کرد.
Allow me to begin in the name of God. I'm Dr. Somaia Rafi'i, ecologist, member of Parliament of the Islamic Parliament of Iran, chair of the Environment Fraction, and vice chair of Women's Fraction. Due to the paucity of time, I will pass on the floor to my colleague to read the text that we have prepared.
موضوع ارائه ما راجع به راهبردهای پارلمانی برای کاهش تأثیرات منفی منازعات طولانی مدت بر زنان و اهداف توسعه پایدار است.
I will be talking about parliamentary strategies to mitigate the adverse impacts of protracted conflicts on women and sustainable development goals. Armed conflicts and protracted conflicts, such as the ongoing situation in Gaza, have had devastating consequences on the lives of women, impacts that are often overlooked. While women are the hidden pillars of society, they bear the brunt of the crisis. From increased gender-based violence to the denial of access to basic healthcare services, from the loss of economic opportunities to ending the psychological pressure of war, women in war-torn areas, including Gaza, face numerous challenges every day that not only violate their human rights, but also hinder the achievement of sustainable development goals. In these circumstances, parliaments, as policy-making bodies, can play a decisive role. One of the most important measures that parliaments should prioritize is strengthening legal frameworks to protect women in war zones. Due to the conditions of war and prolonged siege, women in these areas face increasing risk of gender-based violence, forced marriages, and severe social restrictions. Parliaments can take a significant step towards reducing these harms by passing laws that directly defend women's rights. On the other hand, Parliament should focus on funding programs that directly address the needs of women in crisis. In conflicts, many women have become heads of the households due to the war, while their access to income sources and healthcare services is severely limited. Establishing special funds to support women heads of households, developing employment programs tailored to post-war conditions, and providing special healthcare services for women are amongst the measures that can partially alleviate the economic and social pressures on women. Healthcare centers should be equipped to address the specific needs of women, including prenatal care, safe childbirth, and psychotherapy services for survivors of violence. The role of women in peace and reconstruction processes should not be ignored either. Global experience has shown that when women participate in peace talks and post-conflict decision-making, not only are the solutions more sustainable, but subsequent violence is also reduced. Parliaments can create space for the active participation of women in macro-level policy-making by reforming electoral laws and establishing gender quotas. The impact of conflicts on women is not limited to wartime. Its consequences persist for years after the end of hostilities. Therefore, support programs should be designed to be long-term and sustainable so that women can gradually break free from the cycle of poverty and deprivation caused by war. By allocating continuous budgets and monitoring the implementation of support programs, parliaments can ensure that aid reaches the women who truly need it. In situations like Gaza, where women face multifaceted political, economic, and social pressure, parliamentary actions are not only a humanitarian necessity, but also a fundamental condition for achieving sustainable development. Without addressing the situation of women, any effort towards reconstruction and development will be doomed to failure, because women play a pivotal role in the revival of society and the upbringing of future generations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. I was just about to stop you. Thank you so much. Now we move on to Japan. Can you please time him now? I think I forgot to time him. It's okay.
My name is Michiko Ueno, member of Japan's House of Councilors and vice chair of the Japanese Diet delegation. Allow me to begin by giving my deepest condolences to the victims of the massive earthquake in Myanmar at the end of last month, while also praying for the swift recovery and reconstruction of the afflicted areas. I have long been involved in school education as a teacher and have continued to work toward better education for the future of our children since becoming a parliamentarian. I believe that we human beings are all born to achieve our own happiness. Nevertheless, in many parts of the world, numerous people are suffering, grieving, and sending SOS signals, cries for help. But I strongly believe that we must not turn a blind eye to the reality that children in conflict areas live in daily fear, without access to adequate education, deprived of both their right to live for the future and even the joy of living itself. This is my strong belief. Children are the bearers of the future, and we must use every means available to ensure that they can live in safe environments, maintain their physical and mental health, and receive quality education, along with escaping poverty. Currently, I serve as the Special Mission Chairperson for promoting the Japan Well-Being Plan in the Liberal Democratic Party, promoting well-being-related education in Japanese schools that encourages students to consider contemporary social issues such as poverty, human rights, and peace as their own problems and to address them starting from their immediate surroundings. This resolution also points out a direct correlation between conflict prevention and gender equality. Therefore, I believe we should aim to create sustainable societies by ensuring women's participation in conflict prevention and peace building, generating new values and behaviors that lead to problem solving through education. Furthermore, this resolution calls for strengthened cooperation amongst various domestic and international institutions, public and private sectors, and civil society. But achieving major goals requires broader unity, and from a diversity perspective, it is essential that more women participate. Through parliamentary activities in our respective countries, we women parliamentarians gathered here with shared aspirations can implement the recommendations from the IPU conference as policies, bringing us closer to realizing a society that prevents conflict, leaves no one behind, and allows everyone to live authentically. And let us unite to create a society of well-being where children around the world can dream and smile by setting the improvement of GDW, gross domestic well-being, alongside GDP, gross domestic product, as a strategic national development goal in each of our countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nepal. Now we move on to Austria.
Thank you very much. This is my first IPU, and I'm very proud to be here. And I just want to strengthen that Austria has a long-standing or a long tradition in seeing women's role in peacekeeping or peace-solving traditions, and this is why we suggest to add a paragraph, a specific paragraph to foster this, and the paragraph, I'm reading it out, is to reaffirm the importance of promoting the full integration of a gender perspective in peace and security initiatives, including through the implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1325 in 2000 on women, peace and security, and subsequent resolutions by strengthening the full, equal and meaningful participation and leadership of women and girls in conflict prevention and resolution. I've seen that this has also been supported in similar ways by South Africa and Sweden. However, we feel this really should be strengthened by this specific and very strong paragraph. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you so much. Now, can I call upon Japan? I'm sorry for the mistake, that it got skipped by mistake. The floor is yours, Japan.
Nepal or Japan? No, it's my turn or
Japan?
Already done. Nepal. Nepal.
Apologies once again. Now we're calling upon Nepal. Apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Good morning, good afternoon. Namaste from Nepal, Mount Everest, and Holy Land of Nepal, Holy Land of Gautam Buddha, birthplace of Gautam Buddha. As we are talking about women representation in the world, MPs, women MPs in the world, at the beginning, I would like to urge you all, because early morning we missed our one meeting with Asia Pacific group because of misconfirmation, miscommunication, so we couldn't attend. Actually, as we are talking about the representation of women, this is first attempt from Nepal that giving candidacy on a standing committee on sustainable development. So I am the candidate, so I would like to request you all honorables that to convey this message to vote for Nepal. This is first attempt. So I would like to move on a gender perspective from Nepal. Nepal's civil war 1996 to 2006 had profound effects on society, mainly women experiencing significant suffering and victimization. However, this period also marked an important turning point for women's political participation in Nepal. This participation, though emerging from a violent context, helped reshape perceptions about women's capabilities and roles in Nepali society and also in the political society in Nepal. The comprehensive peace agreement signed on November 21, 2006 formally ended the conflict and created opportunities for women's involvement in peace negotiations and the post-war political transition. Nepali women, actually leaders from diverse backgrounds, united to advocate for their rights. That's why this 2015 Constitution of Nepal further institutionalized this gain by mandating 33% women's representation in parliament. A progressive stance compared to 2024 global average of approximately 26.5% to my record, women in parliaments. In Nepal, in lower house, 33.7%, upper house 37.28%, and in local bodies 40% women leaders, women political leaders in parliamentarians in the parliaments and local bodies, and our target is 40% in future. Nepal's parliament employs gender equality strategies, including balanced representation as practical measures to mitigate the long-lasting impacts of conflict while promoting sustainable development throughout the country. Gender equality functions as a catalyst for sustainable development, generating positive multiplier effects across economic growth, poverty reduction, and human capital development. This recognition underpins the 2030 Agenda, which establishes gender equality as both a standalone goal, SDG 5, and an essential cross-cutting priority throughout all 17 SDGs. Post-conflict economic recovery programs often overlook women's contributions. UNDP analysis of post-conflict budgets across 12 countries found that gender equality and women's needs...
Excuse me, it's time up.
Yeah, I will finish it in quick conclusion. So women specific need gave opportunity to access economic development, and some recommendations for IPU that gender related amendments. One is political participation and another is economic recovery and gender responsive to climate change. I would like to urge a call for collective actions that gender equality accelerates sustainable peace. So we must act together to prioritize women's voices in post-conflict reconstruction. That will be the real transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nepal. Now we move on to the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and allow me to introduce myself. My name is Harriet Baldwin. I'm a member of the UK Parliament in the opposition party, and my colleague here, Jessica Morden, is a member of the UK Parliament from the government party. And on behalf of the UK Parliament, we just want to put on record our pride in the fact that we were a founding member of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, and how proud we are also of our leading role founding the United Nations as well. And in terms of the resolution that we see before us, in terms of sustainable development and conflict resolution, we've tabled a range of amendments that emphasize that important role of the United Nations, which is the sort of mother organization for the Inter-Parliamentary Union. and how important it is to work within these existing institutions, not necessarily to reinvent the wheel in terms of institutions for moving forward with sustainable development and resolving conflict. And then in particular, I would like to highlight amendment to paragraph 27, something which has been mentioned by a number of other speakers so far, is the important research from UN Women showing that women's participation in peace processes increases the probability of a peace agreement lasting for more than 15 years by over 35%. So I think it should come loud and clear from this group of women this morning, the importance of involving women to achieve sustainable peace. Thank you.
Thank you, United Kingdom. We move on to the United Republic of Tanzania.
Thank you.
Tanzania, where are you?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, for this opportunity to say something on this vital discussion. Conflicts, including armed conflicts, poses significant challenges to the achievement of sustainable development goals, including poverty reduction, health, education, and economic stability. Armed conflicts disrupt critical development areas of a nation, particularly those closely linked to the SDGs. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals, adopted the United Nations General Assembly in 2015, outlines a desired world through the course of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The agenda also declares peace and security as prerequisites for achieving a range of SDGs. Recognizing the Parliament, the key legislative body, play formulation and implementation of policies and legislation that mitigate these impacts, and also in promoting gender-sensitive legislation, supporting women's participation in peace building, strengthening legislative capacity, and fostering international cooperation to post-conflict sustainable development. Tanzania, situated in East Africa, has largely avoided the kind of protracted armed conflicts that have affected many of the neighbors. However, the country has faced challenges related to the regional conflicts, particularly in neighboring countries such as the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi, which have had over effects on Tanzania's security, social stability, and sustainable development. As part of the efforts to mitigate the long-lasting impacts of such conflicts, Tanzania has adopted several parliamentary strategies that focus on peace building, regional cooperation, and sustainable development. The following strategies are integrated into both domestic policies and regional diplomatic efforts as follows: promoting regional peace and security through diplomatic engagement. Tanzania Parliament is actively shaping its diplomatic stance on conflict resolution and regional security, aiming to mitigate potential spillover effects from neighboring conflicts. For example, Tanzania Parliament and East Africa leaders, through the Arusha Peace and Reconciliation Agreement of 2000, played a crucial role in facilitating peace talks during the Burundi Civil War in 1993 to 2005. Also strengthening national institutions for peace building and governance, Tanzania has robust national institutions that prevent conflict and foster long-term development. This is to say, for example, the Tanzania government has established the national security to maintain peace.
Excuse me, it's time up.
And protect and defend national interests. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we shall call upon Bahamas.
Merci. Maintenant les Bahamas.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
I am Pia Glover-Roll. I am a member
Je
of
suis
Parliament
Pierre
and the Minister
Globerol,
of Labor and Public
parlementaire,
Service in the Bahamas.
et je
And
suis
thank you
également
for
des
the
services
opportunity to
publics des
address this
Bahamas.
topic.
Merci de me donner la
As a
possibilité
representative of the
d'aborder la
Bahamas,
question. En
a
tant que
small island developing
représentante
state
des
on the front
Bahamas,
lines of the
une
climate
petite
crisis,
île
I wish to
qui
share
fait
my
face à la crise
perspective on the
climatique,
reality of our people, particularly women, children, and families, who face recurring, intensifying hurricanes that mirror the devastation of armed conflict. Homes are lost, schools are shuttered, communities are displaced, and the social fabric of our nation is tested. In the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, one of the most powerful storms to ever hit our region, the Bahamas took deliberate steps to center the needs of women, children, and families in our response. Temporary shelters prioritized the safety and privacy of women and girls. We activated social workers, mental health professionals, and gender-responsive service providers to offer immediate support in shelters and impacted communities. Most critically, our government mobilized quickly to reconnect displaced families, provide targeted cash assistance, and ensure that children return to learning as soon as possible. These actions were not incidental, they were intentional, informed by lived experience and driven by a growing recognition that disaster response must be human-centered and gender-responsive. But we know there is much more work to be done. As parliamentarians, we're taking steps to strengthen this approach by mainstreaming gender in our disaster preparedness legislation and policy, by ensuring the needs of women and families are embedded from the outset. We're championing investment in social infrastructure like childcare and psychosocial services, which are crucial for resilience and recovery. We're supporting community-based early warning systems that engage women as trusted local leaders and communicators. In the Bahamian context, sustainable development cannot be divorced from climate resilience, and climate resilience cannot be achieved without gender equity. As United Nations Women reminds us, there is no climate justice without gender justice. I believe that applies equally to peace building and post-conflict development. I hope that we can use this assembly to reaffirm that our strategies must protect, include, and empower, because when we center women and families, we build stronger, more resilient, and more just societies. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Bahamas. And now we shall call upon Sri Lanka. We'll give this country 2 minutes. It will be followed by Cote d'Ivoire, again 2 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I am a newly member appointed Sri Lankan Parliament. Thanks for giving this valuable time. We gather here at a crucial junction in history, one where our few decisions and actions can reshape the long-lasting impacts of conflicts, including armed conflicts, on sustainable development. In Sri Lanka, after decades of ethnic conflicts and distrust, Sri Lanka is also progressing towards reconciliation and sustainable development. We have been making efforts, being guided by the principle of inclusivity, dialogue, and shared ownership among all communities. To foster national healing, we have established an Office for National Unity and Reconciliations focused on addressing the root causes of our conflict. The Office for National Unity and Reconciliation is an entirety under the Ministry of Justice and National Integration, with the primary goal of promoting harmony and unity among the people in Sri Lanka. While celebrating diversity, we are committed to creating a society where every person respects the fundamental rights, freedom,
Thank you, Sri Lanka.
communities.
Your time is up.
So,
Excuse me, can I now call upon Cote d'Ivoire, the last to present? 2 minutes.
Les guerres et les catastrophes
Thank
affectent
you.
profondément les femmes.
Natural disasters profoundly affect girls and women, given that they are the first to fall victim. In Côte d'Ivoire, my country, we have very much understood that since the President, His Excellency Alassane Ouattara, came to the helm of the Republic, we have seen a serious commitment to promote the rights of women. The 14th of October 2019, our parliament voted in the law on the quota in terms of the representation of women in our national politics. Following that, school enrollment of young girls became obligatory in Côte d'Ivoire. The fight against child labor is also a battle we are waging. The empowerment of Ivorian women is being led by Madame Dominique Ouattara, the First Lady. In 2014, the budget for financing these projects went from 1 billion to 25 billion.
Pour environ 300,000 bénéficiaires.
And this reaches out to roughly 300,000 beneficiaries. What we'd like to underscore here is that in Côte d'Ivoire, all of the women in our country are fully integrated and they have fully fledged participation in our country. Previously, jobs that were reserved only for men now have women taking part. For example, customs officers, police officers, forestry wardens, and other stewards. We believe that in Côte d'Ivoire, in addition to the natural disasters that we have seen, illiteracy is also a major factor which is jeopardizing the future of women. And we are committed as a country to improving the lives of women. And as you have seen, we are getting closer and closer to villages. The schools are closer and closer to our hearts, and we have schools that are closer to the people.
Your time is up. Dear colleagues, we have now come to the end of our business. I wish to thank you all for your thoughtful contributions. Ms. Godolina and I will now have the difficult task of summarizing the main points of our discussions. Ms. Godolina will present a report on our debates this afternoon at the Forum of Women Parliamentarians. May I remind you that the forum will resume its work at 2 p.m. at the Opera Hall. I look forward to seeing you again this afternoon. Thank you so much for your cooperation. God bless you.
French? More. Ça, c'est français. That's Arabic. Côte d'Ivoire. Arabic. The French. Yes, French.